after the previous video telling the life story of Ögedei. If you have not watched it yet, you are welcome to click the link to enjoy it. Next, we are going to tell the story of Shiban. The exciting content is about to start, so please stay tuned. Shiban was the fifth son of Jochi, who did not receive any lands when his father died due to his young age. His name was unknown because he was too young and insignificant at that time, after his father's death. His brothers inherited their father's rich lands, and he could only wait quietly on the sidelines. He looked at those lands with incredible desire. However, he was not discouraged by this, but instead worked harder to make himself stronger. He learned horse riding and archery. He learned to lead the Mongol army. His determination made him grow from an unnoticed boy to a respected general. During those tough days, he learned how to find his way between wind, sand, and grasslands. He hardened his heart like steel, his eyes full of anticipation for the future. He knew that only in this way could he find his future, find the land that belonged to him. Time went by, and it was 1229. A year that bore a different significance for Shiban. By then, he was no longer a nobody. His status had changed. He had earned people's respect and recognition with his own talent and hard work. Ögedei, the third son of Genghis Khan, was preparing to ascend to the Khan's throne. By then, Shiban already had his own influence. His opinions gave him the right to participate in this struggle for power. He stood in a corner of the hall, looking firmly at Ögedei. With his decision already made, he decided to support Ögedei to become the Khan. He believed Ögedei's wisdom and tolerance could lead the Mongols to a better future. At that moment, his choice not only represented himself, but also represented the voice of the people he led. Shiban straightened his back and walked forward. His steps were firm, his eyes were bright. He stood in front of everyone, loudly declaring his choice. He chose to support Ögedei to become the Khan. His voice echoed in the hall, heavy yet full of power. The calendar pointed to 1235, and heated discussions filled Ögedei's grand tent. The focus of the discussion was the conquest of the Kipchak and Volga Bulgaria. Shiban, as the fifth son of Jochi, was also invited to this important meeting. Bat, Shiban's brother, strongly advocated for the Western expedition. He believed this action could consolidate the ruling position of the Mongols and expand their territorial scope. Shiban was also at the center of this discussion, sharing Bat's opinion. Supporting the Western expedition, Abu Haziz, a scholar from the Khwarezmian Empire, once wrote that Shiban had requested an additional 5,000 soldiers from Bat during this Western expedition. He believed that with these 5,000 warriors, he could successfully defeat the Russian enemy forces. Shiban looked directly at Bat in the hall. His eyes firm and powerful, he said, "I need 5,000 men. I will lead them forward, defeat the Russians, and prove our Mongolian power." Bat looked at his brother without any hesitation. He agreed to Shiban's request. In his eyes, Shiban was no longer a naive younger brother, but a steadfast and courageous general. The drums of the Western expedition rang out. The Mongol army led by Shiban and Bat embarked on the westward journey. Their target was Kipchak and Volga Bulgaria. Shiban, with his 5,000 warriors, was ready to fight against the Russian enemy forces. A beam of light broke dawn in the spring of 1241. Shiban, along with his brothers Bat, Kolgan, Hadon, and Subotai, divided into 5 routes and embarked on the conquest of Hungary. Shiban's forces attacked from northern Poland. They were like a sharp spear, directly stabbing into the heart of Hungary. The forces led by Shiban, Bat, and Hadon met in Budapest, the central region of Hungary. The city's defense lines broke like paper match under their onslaught. Hungarian soldiers fell like wheat under their powerful offense. This city was within their grasp. Rashid al-Din, a scholar from the Ilkhanate, wrote in his book that if the Mongols stayed in Hungary, Shiban would become the governor of this region. His writings describe Shiban's bravery in the war and his leadership qualities. The winter of 1242 was approaching, and the news of Ögedei's death came like a bolt from the blue. Shiban and Bat, the two brothers' hearts sank. They decided to withdraw their forces together, ending this war of greed and blood. Their army was tired and severely damaged, but in their hearts, There was only mourning for the Great Khan. After the withdrawal, Shiban was allocated the region from the southern Ural Mountains to the Ob River as his fiefdom. This land was called the Blue Horde. Located to the north of the fief of Ögedei, including the Serisu, Chu, and Sir rivers. A vast area stretching hundreds of miles, Shiban moved his dwelling place according to the seasons. In the winter, he camped in the southern part of the Ural River. And in the summer he led his people to roam between the Volga River and the Ural Mountains. Their life was simple and satisfied. And the grasslands between heaven and earth were their home, under the spirit of generosity and sharing. Shiban gifted 15,000 households to Orda, his elder brother. Although they each had their own territory, their hearts were still deeply connected. They were brothers, comrades, and warriors who fought together for the Mongolian homeland. The spring of 1251 was particularly long, as if every flower was blooming with all its might, and every leaf was shining on earth with the most vibrant green. The wind on the Mongolian grassland, carrying a rich scent, swept past Shiban's tent, stirring up the dust around him. That year, an important meeting was convened within the Mongol Empire, aimed at selecting a new Great Khan. Shiban came to the meeting place with an expectant and apprehensive heart. He knew that this choice would affect the future of Mongolia and the fate of his people. In the meeting, he unequivocally chose to support Menki. Menki's wisdom and courage, his frankness and rectitude all deeply impressed Shiban. He believed that Menki could lead Mongolia to a broader future and could carry on the glory of Mongolia. He firmly supported Menki. And when he conveyed his trust and hope to this future Great Khan, he felt a sense of peace and relief he had never felt before. This was a kind of satisfaction, brought about by a decision made for Mongolia, for the future. He deeply believed that Menki would be a great Khan, leading Mongolia to greater glory. Good times didn't last. On August 11, 1259, Menki was hit by a huge stone from a southern Song dynasty trebuchet in the Battle of Diau Mountain in Hezo, and died of severe injuries 6 days later. After Menki's death, Kublai ascended to the Khanate. In 1260, Shiban was appointed as the master of Zhending route, and was concurrently the minister of household and the official of the clan department. During this time, Ögedei staged a rebellion. Kublai personally went out to fight against Ögedei. He ordered Shiban to go to Hexi to supervise the transportation of food and provide what the army needed. When Shiban returned to the north of Xijing, he learned that the Wanhu Ashtema and others were selecting soldiers, preparing to support Ögedei, so Shiban summoned Ashtemur's troops to support Kublai. Ashtemur was confused and could not make an immediate decision. Shiban patiently persuaded him and said, "The emperor is your elder brother, and Ögedei is your younger brother. You should choose to support your elder brother, which is righteous. Why are you still hesitating?" Ashtemur and others, asked to discuss overnight, agreed to answer Shiban the next day. And they surrounded Shiban with troops to wait for tomorrow's reply. The next day, they all arrived at Shiban's location and told Shiban, "We have decided to accept your suggestion." So they provided the money and grain of Xijing to Shiban's troops and then went forward with them. When they saw Kublai, Kublai exclaimed, "On the battlefield, even if only one person's support is obtained, it can benefit the battle. Now Shiban has brought 20,000 troops, how can his contribution be said to be small?" When Kaidu betrayed Kublai, Kublai assembled a large army to prepare for the expedition. Before this, he ordered Shiban to go to Kaidu to persuade him to abandon the army and set up a post station to come for an audience. Shiban went to Kaidu and conveyed the emperor's will. Kaidu accepted Shiban's command, retired his troops and set up a post station. However, Chancellor Antong's army had already taken the lead in breaking through the tribe of Fire King and seized all their equipment and supplies. Kaidu was scared and prepared to run away. He told Shiban, "I can easily kill you, but my father has received your letters. I will let you go back. It's not my fault if Antong's matter is known to others." Shiban reported this to Kublai. Kublai said, "You're right, someone else has said the same thing to me." Shortly after, Shiban was appointed as the right deputy of the Secretariat. participated in discussing political affairs, and married Princess Belusia, the daughter of a royal family, in the following year. Shiban was sent to Kaidu again to persuade him to surrender and said, "If you don't follow me, can you resist Panway's army?" But Kaidu refused on the grounds of fearing death. Shiban was sent on a mission, rushing around for 3 years. His eyes were eroded by the wind and sand, and he was 70 years old at this time. He was appointed as the Hanlin Chengji, enjoying full pension until he died at the age of 89. Shiban spent his whole life rushing between wind and sand. For the benefit of the Mongol Empire, he selflessly dedicated himself and was loyal to the empire. His life was full of twists and turns and struggles, but he always steadfastly walked on the road of serving the country. Whether it was fighting against traitors or advancing bravely in the war, he showed unparalleled toughness and perseverance. In the next film, we are going to share the story of Bachu, the second son of Jochi. Please look forward to the content of the next episode. If you like this story, please help us by subscribing and sharing. Thank you.